Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to make a really fun shaker card, and we're going to be using some brand new images from Art Impressions. Let's start off by creating our Slimline card. This will be a Slimline shaker card. I'm grabbing that largest die and then the fourth largest die, and these are the Art Impressions Slimline dies. And I've got some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, so I'm going to go ahead and tape down that larger one, and then I'm going to place this smaller one right in the center. We're going to create a frame for our shaker card. So let's go ahead and run that through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. You can see that this platform is a little bit small for this, so I'm going to just run it through, and then I'll slide it over just a little bit and run just that bottom edge through one more time. Now if you have the larger machine, you don't have to worry about this. It'll fit nicely on your larger machine. So let's go ahead and grab those two pieces. We're going to keep both of these. We want the frame and that insert as well. And those will both have that pretty stitch border all the way around. And then I've got these beautiful hot air balloons. These are brand new. And this is part of the watercolor series. And you get all the different sizes of hot air balloons, but I am going to grab that largest one. We're just going to stamp this 3 times on this panel. I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I've placed this cardstock in my Misty Stamp Positioner. I'm just prepping it really quickly with my fingers, just rubbing off any of that film that might be on top of the stamp so that it'll stamp nicely. This is the first time I'm using this set. And then I want to make sure I clean off that stamp really well, and we're going to place that a little bit further up on this panel. We'll have 3 of these hot air balloons on this little panel. Let's go ahead and stamp that second one. And then I'm going to clean that off again. You do want to make sure you clean off your stamp between, because you're going to be placing that on your cardstock and you don't want to get any black ink there before you're ready to do your stamping. So now I can go ahead and stamp this one. I've got some Masking Magic. This is from Gina K, and this is going to create a mask of that hot air balloon. So I've placed it in my Misty Stamp Positioner. I'm just going to, again, clean off that stamp and stamp this right at the bottom of this Masking Magic. So let's go ahead and ink that up. We can quickly stamp that. And then what I want to do is cut this out. So I'm going to grab my detail scissors, and you want to cut kind of on the inside of that black line. Right on the black line or on the inside of the black line, because this is going to mask off our sky so that we can do a really pretty cloudy background. So I went ahead and cut that out. I'll set that aside for now. And I wanted to show you these mini glue tape runners from Tombow. You get 3 in a pack, and I use these a lot just to kind of temporarily hold things down. It is a permanent tape if you leave it on and you assemble something, but if you just leave it on for a short period of time, you can remove that with your adhesive remover. So I'm just going to temporarily tape these 2 down onto my Wendy Vecchi Make Art station. And then I've got that little mask. I'm just going to use my Cricut weeding tool just to remove that backing. I will keep that backing because I like to save the masks that I create and keep them with my stamp set. That way I don't need to create one every time. So I'm going to line that up exactly with that hot air balloon and then tape that in place. And again, that just has a temporary adhesive on the back. So now I've got my cloudy stencil from Lawn Fawn. And for ink, I'm using the Cloud 9 ink pad in the Teal Twist Shimmer. And this is from Lisa Horton Crafts. And I want to show you what this would look like on different color papers. So it's an interference ink. So it's going to change the look depending on the color paper that you're using. So here it is spattered onto some black cardstock, and it kind of has a pinky purpley tone. Here it is scraped just along a piece of black cardstock. This is what it looks like on gray, so you get more of that greenish blue color on the gray. There it is on some burgundy and navy blue, and then there it is on the craft cardstock, which I really love that, so I'm going to have to do something with that. And you can see how shimmery it is, how shiny it is. And I've got those two. That's the same ink on the black cardstock and on the white cardstock. So you can see how totally different it looks. Today we're just going to apply it with a brush using our cloudy stencil, and it's going to give us a really pretty color sky. Just love this blue color that you get on the white cardstock. So I'm just dabbing off a little bit of the excess of the ink, and then I'm going to go to my stencil. I like to kind of tap it onto the stencil first and then push it up over the top. And you do want some light and dark areas in your clouds, so you can go a little heavier in some areas. And I'm just moving that stencil around so I get a nice random look to my clouds. So I'm going to continue this all the way down this panel. And what I was pointing to there a bit earlier is just to show you that this cloud that we're coming up to has the mask on it. So I don't have to worry about doing my stenciling. It's not going to get on the hot air balloon. It's just going to be masked off and protected from that little cloudy border. Let's do one more. And now I can go ahead and remove that mask. You do want to remember to do that so that you place it on the next one. Now certainly again you could have cut 3 of these masks and then you wouldn't have to worry about moving it, but I just thought having the one is just as easy. And then now you can see I can go right over that hot air balloon and everything is protected. So now I'm going to move that mask one more time, and then we'll finish this up all the way to the bottom. And I will show you afterwards, when you clean this off of your stencils and your brushes, it just takes a little bit of water. I just sprayed some water from my distress sprayer right onto the stencil and wiped it clean. And then I just easily rinsed off my brush under some cool water and just blotted it off and let that dry. I'm just adding a little bit of ink down here at the bottom just to finish that off. Now don't forget to remove that last mask. I'm going to go ahead and take that off now. And again, I'm going to put it right back on the little backing and keep it with my stamps. And as I mentioned before, I just took a little bit of water from my distress sprayer. I cleaned off my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. And then I easily cleaned off my stencil and my brush as well. So that ink comes off very easily. Now I'm going to use the Beach Sunset Stencils from Fawn. I want those little birds. I'll show you that it's a 2-part stencil. We're not going to be using those 2 parts today. We're just going to be using the birds. And I thought this would be really easy to do. I've got some black Soot Distress ink and a tiny little blending brush, and I'm going to add some birds here and there in the sky. So I'll go ahead and finish filling in a few of those birds off camera. So once that was done, I'm going to start my coloring. I've got May Green, and I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. And the colors will be listed in the upper left-hand corner as we're going along. And also remember that all of the products we're using today will be listed and linked down below and also on my blog. So this little stamp set is just so cute, and I love the fact that you get all the different sizes of balloons. So if you are doing a watercolor scene, you've got that perspective. You can have the larger balloons in the front, and then they go smaller as you go towards the back of your scene. But for today, I just decided to just use this one size. And then for the little baskets on these, I'm using beige and mid-brown. I'll start off with the beige, add a little bit of mid-brown around the edges, and just kind of pull that in towards the center. And I'll do the other 2 the exact same way. Now with bright yellow and orange, I'm going to do this next section of the balloon. This might also be a fun project to do with some paper piecing. You could grab some of your floral papers or your polka dot stripe papers and do your balloons that way as well. So all you would need to do is stamp your image onto your pattern paper and then cut out the different sections of the balloon and piece them together. Here I've got cobalt blue, and I'll add a little bit of the cobalt blue to the little bags, the little weighted bags at the bottom of the balloon. With aquamarine blue and smoky teal, I'm going to do this middle section of this balloon. And these two colors really work well together for doing some shadowing. But keep in mind that you don't always have to have two colors. You can just use the one color. You apply that color first and then come back in with a couple more layers of that same color for a little more depth. So you don't have to have all of these colors to do your shadowing. Now I'll switch to the wine red. We'll just do this bottom section of the balloon. And then we will be coming in with some gel pens. Art Impressions started carrying the gold and silver gel pens. They always had the white one, but we're going to add some of that shimmer to these balloons, and it's just going to make these pop and give them a lot more interest. I've got Cool Gray number 3 for the top of the balloon. And then let's go ahead and do that last one. With yellow and scarlet red, I'll do the center of the balloon. And for this one, I'm going to be adding some polka dots. So with this, with the silver gel pen, so that's going to be really pretty. And I love how these two colors blend together. You just get that really pretty peachy color, and you get some nice shadowing as well. Then I'm going to do those same two colors down here in this little section. And then back to that cobalt blue. So I'm just repeating that cobalt blue that we used before up on this top area. And I'm just using the cobalt blue, and then I'll come in with a couple layers of that. As I mentioned earlier, that's another way to do your shadowing. I'm just going to use that same color and just add a little bit more of it. And then for the little weighted bags on the bottom, I just added a little bit of those two greens that we used before. So here's where I've got these Signo Gel Pens, and I'm going to add the silver. I'm adding some stripes on the middle section of this balloon, just kind of following those shapes that are there. Then just adding a little highlight. And then for this one, I'm going to go in the opposite direction, just adding some vertical stripes. And then for this last one, that's where I'm going to add those polka dots, and I really love how this one came out. And again, that's going to give us a little shimmer, just a little bit more interest. And then for this one, I did decide to go horizontally as well. So I created like a little bit of a plaid effect there. And look how pretty that is. I just think it makes these pop really nicely. So for the card base, we're going to make a standard slimline card. This measures 8.5 by 7 inches. And on the 7-inch side, I'm going to score at 3.5. I've got my mini scoreboard, so you can see I can't go all the way to the bottom. I'll just flip it around and score at 3.5 on that last little section. I've got the bone folder. Let's go ahead and press that out nicely. And so this will measure 3.5 by 8.5. I've got the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. Now what I want to do is temporarily hold down this frame so I know exactly where to put that center section. So I'm just taping this right down to my glass media mat, and I've got some Post-it tape, And that will help me line this up perfectly. So this little center panel, I'm just going to put glue around there. I do want to make sure I use my finger to just spread that right out to the edges, because this is going to be a shaker card. I don't want any little bits to get in underneath this. So I want to make sure I have edge to edge glue. I'm just going to press that down really well. Now we can remove that Post-it tape and this frame for now. And again, just pressing that out really well. So let's add some acetate to this front panel. I've just cut it down to size. And what we're going to do is put some scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive all around that frame. And then I remove the backing from that, and we can glue or tape down this acetate right to the front of the card. Now I want to pop up and create the shaker pocket for my card. So I'm doubling over my 3D foam tape, and I've got a double layer of it. And where I'm going to place it is not on that frame, although you can do that. The reason I'm placing it directly onto my card for this particular card is because I want to make sure that it lines up perfectly with this little center portion of the card. It'll be easier for me to line that up. Now you do want to make sure that that 3D foam tape is edge to edge. You don't want any gaps in there, because your little shaker bits could come out. I've added some clear sequins, and all I did was pick out some clear sequins from that Picket Fence Studio collection that I had. I just wanted the clear ones, and then I'm going to go ahead. Now you can see how much easier this will be for me to line up this frame. I'm just going to use my scissors to hold that down a little bit so I can easily line this up. It'd be a little harder to do it the opposite way, to have the tape on this frame and then try to flip the card over onto the back of it. So I thought doing it this way was a little bit easier, but you do whatever works best for you. And now I've got the mini birthday sentiment set, and we're going to grab that sentiment that says "Time to Celebrate." And this is a brand new set from Art Impressions. And then I'm also going to use this set. This is the birthday sentiment set. And I'm going to grab the one that says, "May your every wish come true." And again, this one has a lot of really cute sentiments as well. I've got some black 100-pound cardstock and my Versamark watermark ink pad. So this is an embossable ink. Let's go ahead and emboss these two sentiments. I'm just stamping them at the same time just to make this a little bit quicker. I've got my Ranger Superfine Detail White embossing powder. Going to sprinkle that on, and we'll just tap away any excess. And then we can go ahead and heat set this. I made sure my heat tool was nice and hot, and then we can quickly emboss this. Now you may want to use your anti-static powder tool before you do this. It might make it easier to knock off any of that excess powder. Let's go ahead and grab a couple dies. These are the flag double stitch dies from Art Impressions. For this one, I'm going to grab this little flag, and I'm going to tape that down, and you can see that I'm placing that off to the right a little bit. I'm going to be adding some little sequins next to that sentiment. And for this one, I'm going to cut this down. It's a little too long, and I'll show you how you can easily fix that. So let's go ahead and grab the Sizzix Sidekick machine, and we're going to cut right about to there. So wherever your top plate is where the cutting is going to occur. So anywhere you have that top plate on, you're going to be die cutting. The rest of it will not cut at all. So I'm going to run that through, and now let me remove that tape so you can see that I've cut a portion of this. Now I want to cut the other half of this. So I'm going to line this die up. I'm going to make sure it locks right into place. So I'm just sliding it around to make sure I have the positioning correct. And then I'm just going to make sure it locks down in there. You can almost feel it lock into place. And then I can go ahead and add that Post-it tape, and let's go ahead and run that through. And I'm placing the top plate to the right of this now, because we just want to cut that right-hand side, and we'll run that through the die cutting machine. So that shortens up this banner a little bit. So we've kind of custom fit this banner to fit our sentiment. You can see that there. This one I can just run through just as it is. So now we can go ahead and attach these to the card. I'm using that same 3D foam tape for this top one. I'll remove that backing, and then we'll line it up right along the edge of the card on the right hand side. And then this one I'm just going to glue on the inside of the card. And I'll just center that. So once that was all set, I decided to add some more of these sequins to the front of the card. I want some to be on the acetate and along the frame, just to bring everything together. This will just tie everything together. So let me give you a quick look at this cute little shaker card. And you know I love Slimline cards, so for me this is just so much fun. I just think they're just different and fun to do. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.